To start off, I'd like to be transparent that my boyfriends, we'll call him Liam, ex-wife, we'll call her Lauren, and I were not fond of each other. This is something she made an active effort to make clear, and I did not. But it is an easy assumption to make. We never officially met after Liam and I started dating, but were obviously aware of each other. They stayed friends after the divorce and had 2 kids together. A few years into our relationship, they had a falling out, nothing to do with me, and stopped talking. All that being said, Lauren passed away recently. Liam is, of course, having a hard time with it. She was the mother of 2 of his kids after all, and now his kids are obviously devastated. It's a lot of emotion to handle, and Liam and I are each other's main source of emotional support. When Liam told me about the wake, there was no question that he would be going to support his kids, and I asked him if he wanted me to go with him. He immediately said yes, and I thought nothing else of it. Of course, I would be there for him and his kids if that's what he wanted. So the day comes and everything was fine throughout the greetings and speeches, but shortly after the general mingling started, we hit a snag. I was standing off to the side of the room with my son. Liam was migrating from his kids to old in-laws and back to me for short breaks, when a woman I didn't know came up and asked me, "You're Liam's new wife, right?" "Girlfriend, but yes." "It's really inappropriate for you to be here, you know," she said. I was pretty taken aback. I didn't even meet him until almost 10 years after their divorce, and I wasn't the cause of the situation between them that led them to stop talking. All I could think to say was, wakes are for the living. Lauren was the mother of Liam's kids. He loved her enough to marry her and start a family with her. I'm sure some of those feelings never go away, and he's here to support his children. I'm here to support him. She gave me and my son this horrifically nasty look and said, "You shouldn't be. Neither of you should be. She wouldn't want you here." This was a tense, in-the-moment exchange, and my knee-jerk response bounced from my knee to my mouth before I could think. And I just said, "Well, sorry you feel that way, excuse me." And I walked away towards Liam. We got a few more side glances during the time there, but the rest was uneventful, if also very uncomfortable. After we got home, I relaxed enough to actually think it through, and I really don't know if I should feel like the AH for going. Liam had a really tough time, and I know me being there helped him get through it. If anyone said anything to him, he hasn't told me. I get that woman's perspective. She's right in that Lauren probably wouldn't have wanted me there. But am I the idiot for going anyway? Edit to clarify some frequently asked questions regarding info that would not fit into the original post. His daughter did expect me to be there and told me to bring her brother. I was not an affair partner. I met Liam about a decade after the divorce. I was dressed very plainly, a black button-down shirt and black slacks. Also, this was a wake, not a funeral. I use the word funeral for those who may not know what a wake is, to get the point across. And finally, she was not hoping for any kind of reconciliation with him. She initiated the divorce. He spent years trying to get their family back together after the split, and she wasn't interested. Her fiancé was at the wake as well. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. My husband passed away recently, and I would want anyone who felt like they needed support to grieve him to be able to have their support with them in order to do so. Whoever came to verbally attack you at an event that should have been focused on the person they love that has passed is taking their grief out on you, and you don't deserve that. People all grieve differently, and you can't control the ways in which they do, but don't feel bad for being there for your boyfriend. You came to support someone who cared about her and her children, and that is a good thing to do. Comment 2. Your intentions may have been good, but it wasn't appropriate for you to be there. Liam is an adult and can handle going to a wake for a few hours without having your support. You had a contentious, at best, relationship with his ex and never met her. I'm sure people felt like Liam was bringing a date to his ex's funeral. It was distracting and made things uncomfortable for everyone, and I truly can't understand why you'd bring your child along with you. You're the idiot for not thinking it through. Now for the update. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. It's been a very eventful week. After the wake, things seemed to settle down. Or so I thought. Liam's kids, who had been staying with us, were understandably quiet, processing their mom's passing. But then, out of nowhere, Liam's phone started blowing up. It was Lauren's sister, accusing him of stealing something from Lauren's house. Apparently, a family heirloom had gone missing, and since Liam had a key, he was the prime suspect. I watched as Liam's face went from confused to angry. He had been nowhere near Lauren's place, but her sister was relentless, threatening to involve the police. Liam was a mess. He didn't need this. Not now. I suggested we go over there, clear this up face to face. Big mistake. We arrived to find Lauren's sister and her husband waiting, faces like thunder. The conversation was heated, accusations flying. Liam's kids were in the car, and I could see them getting upset. I tried to intervene to calm things down, but Lauren's brother-in-law shoved me. It was like a switch flipped in Liam. He lunged, and before I knew it, fists were flying. The police showed up, and Liam was taken away in handcuffs. The kids were crying, I was in shock, and Lauren's family was smug. It was a mess. Liam spent the night in jail, and the kids stayed with me, asking questions I couldn't answer. Turns out Lauren's new partner had taken the heirloom, a misunderstanding he cleared up the next day. But the damage was done. Liam was charged with attack. His ex-in-laws were pressing charges, and the kids were scared they'd lose their dad. The following days were a blur of lawyers and tearful conversations. Liam was out on bail, but the tension at home was thick. He was ashamed, kept apologizing to the kids, to me. I could see the strain on his face, the fear of what might happen next. Then the second blow hit. Liam lost his job. The arrest had made it to his boss, and that was that. No job, potential jail time, and 2 kids to support. He was spiraling, and I was trying to hold it all together. But here's where it gets really twisted. I found out that Lauren's sister had been in touch with Liam's boss before he was fired. She had painted Liam as a violent man, a danger to the community. It was calculated, a move to hurt him as much as possible. And it worked. Liam was a shell of himself. He wouldn't eat, barely spoke. The kids were clinging to me, scared they'd be taken away. I was juggling lawyers, comforting the kids, trying to keep Liam from falling apart. It was exhausting. The court date loomed, and the atmosphere at home was suffocating. But then a small win. The charges were dropped. Lauren's brother-in-law admitted he'd overreacted, that the shove was mutual. It was a relief, but the damage to Liam's reputation was done. We're still picking up the pieces. Liam's looking for work, but it's tough with the arrest on his record. The kids are back in school, but they're different, quieter. And me? I'm angry. Angry at Lauren's family for what they did to Liam, to us. Angry that they used his past to manipulate the situation. I keep thinking about that woman at the wake, how she said Lauren wouldn't have wanted me there. Maybe she was right, but I can't help but feel like this was all some twisted game to them, a way to get back at Liam for a past that he can't change. Thanks for reading. My girlfriend steals my dinner every night, so I start ordering extra, and she accuses me of calling her fat. But when her secret binge eating comes out, I make sure we cook at home, and she learns to never take my food again. We eat out a lot, we can't cook, and my girlfriend does that thing that women do in movies a lot, where they take a bite off their boyfriend's plate. But she does it like a lot. I'm not talking about like a handful of chips or something. She ate over half of my loaded BBQ fries last time we were in my hometown. The plate sits in front of me, but it's clear that it's her food, and I get the leftovers. I've asked why, but she claimed that genuinely she didn't realize she was as hungry as she was, or that my food just looked better. No biggie, because we're both very active, outdoorsy people, and food is fuel, haha. I would just order bigger portions and be happy to share. And then she started ordering smaller portions and mostly eating my food. I didn't say anything, even when it got kind of ridiculous. Think full-grown woman went on a 7-mile hike, and now she wants a side salad with no croutons. Still not a problem, honestly. If I'm still hungry when I finish eating, I just order something else. This is when the problem arose. Getting back out to the car after every time I ordered a second entree because she ate most of mine, she would freak. The first time she told me I had embarrassed her, and she asked me not to do that again. I explained that I had still been hungry after the first meal, and I just wanted to fill up before we hit the road again. The second time, she started crying in the car and asked if I thought she was fat. When I said no, she asked why I had to order a second entree if I didn't think she was a pig. Every time it was a fight, it got so bad that a couple nights I just didn't want to deal with it and went to bed hungry. We were at an unnamed neighborhood bar and grill, and she went big spender today and ordered a chicken wonton taco appetizer and water. I ordered as well, and as is usually the case at this particular restaurant, they either forgot or didn't give a crap when we asked to bring out the tacos at the same time as my meal. She starts eating, and I'm left staring and hungry. We had been hiking that morning already, and it felt like my stomach had given up and was digesting my spine. I quickly convinced myself that it wouldn't be a big deal to have one of the tacos because she eats my food without asking all the time, and that's what our relationship is. So I grabbed one and started eating. Insert incredibly loud, incorrect buzzer. I knew it was a bad idea the minute I did it, but it was too late and I kept eating. She looked shocked for a moment, but didn't say anything. Throughout the meal, I would try to engage her in conversation, but she wouldn't respond. When we finally got out to the car, she asked if I thought she was fat again, and we had that argument, and eventually it came around to her saying that a man taking food off of a woman's plate for any reason is sending a message that she's fat. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize, but I really don't see how that is the case. Now, for a few comments before the update, comment 1, not the idiot. Your girlfriend is way too fixated on this "do you think I'm fat" thing when you criticize her eating methodology. Does she think eating food from your plate doesn't count? That you ordered yourself more food because she ate a large portion of yours somehow means you think she thinks you're fat, as opposed to just you still being hungry, and also not recognizing that you were starving when she got her food first and didn't just offer you a piece or understand why you grabbed a bite. Yep, she has some hella disordered dining habits. Maybe she should see someone about that. Comment 2. You need to have a serious talk with her about her body image issues and her relationship with food. Tell her it's best if neither of you share food right now, and she should start therapy, or just order double of everything you want claiming you are very hungry, like 3 meals, and then let her eat whatever. She clearly thinks she can pretend she is not eating much if she doesn't actually order it herself. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for more of my saga. So a lot has happened since I last spilled the beans. We've been eating out like it's our job, and my girlfriend's still doing her thing, the food snatching routine. But things took a turn, and not for the better. Just last week, we hit up our usual spot after a grueling bike ride. I was starving, and I mean my stomach was practically howling. I ordered a massive burger, and she got a Caesar salad, light on the dressing. Classic. But then she did something new. She asked for a bite of my burger before it even arrived. I laughed it off, but inside I was like, really? Anyway, the burger finally comes and it's a masterpiece. I'm about to dive in when she swoops in and takes the biggest bite I've ever seen. I'm talking a quarter of the burger gone. I was stunned and honestly, a bit ticked off. But I kept my cool, didn't want to make a scene. Fast forward to a couple of days ago. We're at her sister's place for dinner. Her sister made lasagna and it smelled amazing. I was ready to eat a horse. We sit down and my girlfriend serves herself a tiny portion, then looks at me with those eyes that say, "You know the drill." I serve myself a hefty slice, bracing for the inevitable. Sure enough, she starts picking off my plate. But this time, her sister notices and makes a joke about it. My girlfriend laughs it off, but I see the embarrassment in her eyes. It's awkward and I feel bad for her, but also kind of irritated. Now here's where the secret comes in. A few days after the lasagna incident, I'm doing laundry and I find a receipt in her jeans pocket. It's from a fast food place, and it's not just any receipt. It's a full-blown feast for one. I'm talking burgers, fries, the works. And the date on the receipt? The same day she had that tiny salad for lunch. I'm floored. All this time she's been eating like a bird in front of me, then going out and having secret binges? I felt betrayed, confused, and honestly a little worried about her. I didn't know what to do with this information. Confronting her could lead to a huge blow-up, or worse, her feeling so ashamed that it would damage our relationship. But keeping it to myself felt like I was lying by omission. I decided to keep an eye on things for a bit, see if it was a one-time thing or a pattern. And sure enough, I found more receipts, more evidence of these secret meals. It was clear she was struggling with something deep, something she felt she couldn't share with me. The tension between us grew. We were like actors in a play, pretending everything was fine, but the air was thick with unspoken truths. I knew I had to do something, but the thought of hurting her was unbearable. Then last night it all came to the head. We were at a friend's barbecue, and she was doing her usual routine, nibbling on veggies and ignoring the feast. I couldn't take it anymore. I pulled her aside and gently asked if we could talk about her eating habits. To my surprise, she broke down. She confessed that she'd been struggling with her body image for years, that eating in public made her anxious, and that she'd been secretly eating to cope with the stress. She was ashamed and scared, and she didn't know how to ask for help. It was a lot to take in. I felt a mix of relief that the secret was out and fear for what it meant for us. We talked for hours, and I assured her that I loved her no matter what, that we'd get through this together. We decided to start cooking at home more, to take control of our eating habits and support each other. It's not going to be easy, but I'm hopeful. For the first time in a long time, I feel like we're on the same page, ready to face this challenge as a team. Thanks for reading. It means a lot to have someone to share this with. My best friend's wedding dress was a disaster, and the other maid of honor lied to save money. So I exposed her and helped pick out stunning new dresses that made the bride shine. I, 25 years old, female, am one of 2 maids of honor for my best friend's wedding in August of 2024. The bride and I have been friends for 20 years now, and she was my maid of honor 2 years ago. A couple of weeks ago, she decided that our dresses would be ordered online from a website called Birdie Gray. The bridal party had already agreed that a dress budget of $100–$150 would be good. So she sent the link to the dress and we all bought it, $140 after shipping and tax. I was the first to receive and try on the dress. It was bad. The fabric was very cheap, the color looked white in person, champagne was the goal, the measurements were off, the leg slit was cut wrong and instead was a crotch slit. And after looking on Reddit and other websites outside Birdie Gray, I was finding horrible reviews as well. I was slightly worried to tell the bride, so I reached out to the other maid of honor. She agreed with about 80% of the concerns. We discussed that she would go to the bride's house and show her in person, so she knew we weren't just throwing a fit or anything. I live 6 hours away, so I couldn't just drive over to show the bride. To even strengthen our concerns, I went to my local seamstress and asked if the dress could be tailored and dry cleaned. The seamstress heavily recommended not to, since the fabric was such poor quality and could fall apart or melt. I then gathered up the strength to call the bride. I relayed all the info with videos/images of the dress and told her all the concerns the maid of honor and I had. End call. I went to bed in the afternoon, I worked nights, and woke up to text saying, "I'm sorry you don't like the color of the dress, but I've decided we will be keeping it. You can select a different dress and exchange it from the same website." In my mind, I'm like, dude, I don't care if you want us wearing green or zebra. The dress is tissue paper and cheaply made for what we paid, and the color is wrong. I then see the other maid of honor in the group chat posting about how much she loves the dress suddenly and chatting with the other bridesmaids with the bride in the chat. I asked the bride if the other maid of honor made it over to her house to show her the dress in person. She said, "I wasn't able to meet with her today. She said she was suddenly busy." At this point, I'm not sure how else to tell her without mailing it to her and showing her physically how bad it is. I have offered many solutions and even said I will drive 12 hours round trip and help her shop and decide. I feel ganged up on and played by the other maid of honor now after what she did and feel as if she's painting me in a bad light when I know the bride would personally hate the dress, mainly because it's white, if she saw it in person. But getting conflicting information, I don't know what she's thinking now. So I basically threw the other maid of honor under the bus. I screenshot her text to me contradicting everything she said to me and sent it to the bride. She's my best friend. I don't want to walk out on her wedding day, and I don't want the focus to be off her because our dresses are so disastrously looking and the color is white. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. I think you have to let it go now. Get yourself a new dress as per the bride's instructions. She's not asking all of you to do it because the others are not complaining. Yes, the other maid of honor is now happy. Oh well, just enjoy the wedding on the day, and if the bride complains, not your problem. Comment 2, not the idiot, you warned her. Bring a backup dress with you to the wedding, just whatever you already own, in case the original falls apart. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So after I sent those screenshots to the bride, things went from bad to worse. The other maid of honor, let's call her M, had apparently been spinning a web of lies for weeks. She told the bride that I was trying to take over the wedding planning and that I was unhappy with more than just the dress. The bride confronted me, and I was floored. I had to defend myself, explain that I had only ever discussed the dress issue and that I was just looking out for her best interest. But here's the kicker. M had been planning her own wedding in secret and wanted to use the same dress for her bridesmaids to save money. She had convinced the bride to pick it, knowing it was cheap so she could unalive two birds with one stone. When I found out, I couldn't believe it. The level of betrayal was something out of a soap opera. I had to take a stand. I told the bride everything, showed her proof of M's upcoming wedding, and how she had manipulated us all. The bride was in tears, feeling like a fool for trusting M over me, her friend of 20 years. It was a mess. In the aftermath, the bride cut M off completely. She was out of the wedding, and our friendship was over. The bride apologized to me, and we spent a whole weekend picking out new dresses, this time in person at a local boutique. We found the perfect ones, and the rest of the bridal party was relieved. But just when we thought we could breathe a sigh of relief, the bride's future mother-in-law stepped in. She had always been a bit controlling, but now she saw an opportunity to take over. She started pushing for changes in the venue and the menu, things we had already decided on and paid deposits for. It was like a never-ending cycle of drama. The bride was at her wit's end, and I was doing my best to support her. We had to sit down with the groom and his mother to lay down the law. It was an intense meeting, but in the end, we managed to get her to back down by threatening to move the wedding location if she didn't stop interfering. Now, with M out of the picture and the future mother-in-law on a tight leash, we're finally back on track. The wedding is in a few months, and we're all hoping for smooth sailing from here on out. But with the way things have been going, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Thanks for reading this whirlwind of an update. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.